Hello, everyone. Welcome to the broadcast. Hey, Wayne. Hey, Woody. Hello, Brian. And hello, Jeff. So many of you guys hopping on already. So excited to have you here. We're going to get started soon. Hello to Reed and Charlie and Don and all of our other partners who are hopping on and joining us today for our partner broadcast. We're getting started in just under 5 minutes, so be sure not to go anywhere. right, everyone, this is your 2-minute warning. Don't go anywhere. We've got so much to cover on today's broadcast. Hey, Elizabeth. Hey, Deanne. So excited to see you guys hopping on here. Well, officially, welcome everyone to our partner broadcast today. We're so excited that you've taken the time to join us for the content that we'd like to cover. These events are vital to make sure that you are up to date on everything going on in the industry with the services and your systems. Now, for those partners who are on their very first broadcast, a special welcome to you. We look forward to seeing you interact during today's event. One of the reasons you're going to want to make sure you're interacting today is we do kit giveaways. And in order to be eligible for that kit giveaway, you need to make sure that you have liked our Facebook page, that you subscribe to the YouTube page, and that you're interacting during the broadcast. And that means asking questions, providing feedback, comments, all the way throughout the event at any time you'd like to share. We also often do Q&A sessions at the end, so it's important that you're interacting in those as well. Now, if the chat box for any reason is not already open on your page, in the upper right-hand corner, you can click to open that chat box. I highly recommend that you have the window opened to full screen. That way you can see, full browser there, the entire event and the chat box for all that feedback and interactivity. Now, today is all about utilizing our experts here so you can stop chasing and start closing. Now, we want to make sure we share a lot on this, on how to leverage our experts, how to use our team's expertise to increase your conversions. And in order to do that, I'd like to dive in and go ahead and welcome to the call Ryan and Kendra Maddock. Ryan and Kendra, welcome to today's broadcast.
Thank you, Heather. We're really excited today. We're doing a couple of different things. We always say that, but it is always a little bit different. I'm really personally excited that we're going to have Chris and Heather join us later in the broadcast.
Yeah, we have to do different things because otherwise we've been doing this for over 20 years.
It can get kind of stale and boring.
Took a few off throughout, but by and large every month. And but you're right. We're doing something different. I'm excited. We've got Heather's going to be interviewing Chris in a little bit. Mm-hmm. For those of you who don't know Chris, the reason you're going to want to hear from Chris is Chris takes people every single day, like every 30 minutes on his calendar. He takes someone from a prospect that is, potentially a good candidate into a paying client. So,
somebody
I think,
you want to be friends with.
Yeah, and I think even more importantly, he manages the team nationally of folks that do that.
Right.
And so, thousands of calls under his belt. And so honestly, Kendra, we've got a little bit of background to do, but I'm excited to get to that part because that's what I think everybody really wants to hear about. So Yeah, looking forward to it.
Before-
Thanks for joining us,
It
Chris.
was funny because I saw a couple of comments from partners today on the call that said they've never actually seen Chris face to face, but they've been working with him for years. So seeing his picture on the advertisement for today's live stream, they're like, "Oh, that's what Chris looks like."
Yeah.
Good looking guy. Glad he's here, and Heather's going to interview him soon. But before we jump into that, as always, there's something we need to talk about, guys, and it's what time is it? And basically, what we're talking about right now is what time are we in? What are our clients experiencing right now? What are you experiencing as partners and advisors right now?
Yeah, it's tax season. And you might be thinking April 15th. We've got to understand, for a business owner, this starts really about the second week of January through the end of April. And when I say starts, what happens is, Kendra, they're constantly getting hit
Right.
and bombarded with either a form, whether it be things they have to do for employees, things they have to get filed, partnership returns have to go in, the CPA's emailing saying, "Hey, I'm looking over these expenses and I have questions." And you have to understand that as a business owner, every time that happens, you're being put in this mind frame, and it takes you out of the growth mind frame that you need to be as a business owner and into the weightiness.
It's distracting.
Yeah.
And frustrating.
We're going to owe money, or I'm angry about how much I owe.
I was just going to say, it's not a positive distraction, because sometimes being distracted from the day-to-day is good, and it will bring a creativity or a level of, change. This is the opposite. It not only takes completely away any level of creativity, it distracts them from anything positive they can be doing.
Now, you got to look, I think this year it's even worse, because Kendra, every day you've got to turn on the news and you got to see about $1 billion wasted there, $1 billion wasted there. And so now, as a business owner, not only are you gutting my hard-earned money and you're telling me in a couple of weeks that I owe it, but now I've got the added frustration that, this is being spent on maybe things that some of those restaurant owners, hotel owners don't agree with. But either way, this is pressure that's on their shoulders.
Right. And the time frame has shortened. April 15th is coming. Perceived or not, it is a deadline that weighs over our clients. And we know the reality of their situation is they are in a cash flow crisis. That has not changed. I think for the majority of people that we talk to on a daily basis for our clients, it has only increased exponentially when we're talking to them, what's at stake for them. So this image that you see on your screen right now, this is the true reality of what most of our clients and potential clients are going through right now.
Yeah, because as Robert pointed out, LLCs are due in just, really a few weeks from now.
Yeah.
Now, will they get them done in that amount of time? That's a different story, but it doesn't change the fact that they're being harped on, they're being asked. And guys, here's the thing. They either don't have the money to pay, or they've paid in that money, they've set it aside, it's sitting over in their payroll account, or it's sitting in a savings account, whatever the case is. And they're dreading taking that money out of their account and pay. But either way, this is it. This is the weightiness that's going on. Now, Kendra, this is why every year we see such a big bump from about January 15th through, really early, end of April, early May. And that's because this is what clients want to see. But now, let's talk about, you've been out there pushing this. And, for those of them, Kendra, anyone that's on weekly mastermind coaching calls, every single week, Jason has 2 people on mastermind to share their experiences, share what they're seeing out there, share about their client experience, share about a client they got money for, share about a huge commission they got, one of those things. So every week he's got 2 different people that he brings in. We don't have the time in today's slot because we've already got Chris for a little bit, but we do want to highlight a few clients that you guys have brought in last.
I wasn't able to do actual interviews with the advisor or partner, but I was able to pull two clients out.
If you want to see full interviews, watch Mastermind. That's where the full interviews are.
I thought these 2 were perfect because we've been telling you who to focus on, especially for the last 6 months, who your high dollar, high qualifiers are. And the advisors who worked with these 2 clients did exactly what we told them to do step by step, all the way down to using the expert on the call. And this first one, it's a precision metal company. I think they're in Indiana, if I'm not mistaken. Very new. We just started working with them. And of course, we try to always get that look back study for R&D done right away. And of course, they're going to qualify for some level of R&D because they're a metal fabrication company. They did, and it was at $540,000, which we were really happy about. The next thing that we did is, okay, what's the current year going to look like for you guys? And we were able to do that because they came in right at that cusp. So like, I think they came in right around December. So we're immediately able to jump into January when that year end was done. Their current year guys added almost another 200,000 to what they were bringing home for benefit for R&D. So that's awesome. That brought our total up to, I think, what is it? We're at 740,000.
Yeah. This was Susan in Indiana. I don't know if we got, I don't know if
Sorry,
actually you were on Mastermind yet, but yeah.
I did talk to her the other day and ask her permission to share everything. So I apologize, Susan. And then what Susan did is she talked to them about WOTC, or the Work Opportunity Tax Credit. It is just one plant. Actually, they have 2 locations, but most of their employees are located in one location. So they don't hire much. They're family run, but they do hire about 15 employees annually. So we factored out it's going to be about 48,000 for their annual WOTC credit. So that's awesome. And she said, okay, so I have these 2 facilities. I want to focus on the one because the other one's very small. We're going to take a look at that later. So we're going to take a look at cost segregation for them. We've got it in. We've got it worked up. It is a benefit of 330,000 for them. So guys, what we're looking at for this client, remember, they just came in December. We already are able to give them a grand total benefit between their R&D, WOTC, and cost segregation of $1.1 million.
Nice.
I think Susan was quite happy. I know the client was, because I was able to hear some of the conversation. And Susan did an amazing job. She literally, she's newer to us as a partner, and she followed those steps exactly what we laid out. She went after somebody she had already known in the space as a manufacturer, had no problem getting them on the phone with the expert, and it just kind of took off from there.
Now, the great part is we'll continue to get this client an additional, probably $250,000 just doing rough screen math here, per year. And so this account, will not only be a good upfront commission for Susan, it won't be just a good upfront injection of cash flow into the business, but we're talking a lifelong partner here in the client and a lifetime residual for Susan. So good job on that. Kendra, I want to shift gears a little bit and talk about a hotel. Now, this is not a skyscraper hotel.
No.
They have 6 locations, and this is Dan's. Dan's in Illinois. I'm from the Midwest, so Dan's actually from Illinois. You're from both Illinois, so I don't know if you knew that, Dan. Now, I just want to tell you, these aren't big skyscraper downtown Chicago buildings. These are, if I remember right, Hilton Gardens. There was a couple Holiday Inns. These are your typical average, every day you drive by it, nowhere near the glamorous part of town. And maybe like one of the locations was a little bit nice, but overall, Kendra, walk us through this, a 6-location hotel owner that owns some regular, normal size, everyday brands.
Again, Dan brought this client to the table late fall, early, I'm going to say mid winter, getting my seasons mixed up. Midwinter, 6 locations, was able to get documentation in super fast, 1.7 million for the cost segregation for these 6 locations. That in and of itself is pretty amazing. But as we know, on hotels, they are a high qualifier for the Work Opportunity Tax Credit because they do tend to turn over with employees quite often. It's just the nature of that business. So I want to break this down by location so it's easier to grasp. They average about 30 new hires per location per year. So we're averaging this out. That's approximately a $72,000 credit for each location every year. Remember, they have 6 locations. So we're estimating their WOTC credit to add another $420,000 to that bottom line, bringing their grand total of their benefit for cost segregation and the Work Opportunity Tax Credit to $2.1 million.
Boom.
Now, I wouldn't be upset to bring a benefit of that level to my client. I know Dan wasn't, because he was asking me what his commission was going to be on it not that long ago. So congratulations. And again, Dan, I don't want to kind of keep harping on this, but he followed every step of the way. He went after somebody that he had a relationship with in the space, a potential client that he knew was one of the high qualifiers. He got them on the phone as quickly as possible, and we were able to move them along quite quickly through the process.
And again, this is going to be a residual account for Dan. And for those of you that, again, I want to push you to the weekly calls. You're hearing Dan kind of regularly at this point because he's got underpayment deals. He's got other, so, we keep seeing accounts. So good job, Dan, not to cherry pick there, but, at the same time, this is going to be an ongoing account, Kendra. Talk about that for just a moment. For those that don't understand, for certain types of properties, we're talking car dealerships, hotels, people that receive their branding from on high,
even
so to
restaurants,
speak. Yes.
depending.
Why is this ongoing business?
Well, they belong to a brand, and it's called many different things depending on the industry you're in. Sometimes it's called a flag or a flagship or anything.
A franchise.
But being a part of that brand, you have agreed to keep your property at a specific level. And a lot of times what that means is that you have to do forced renovations, is what they're called. Specifically, I want to use, for example, car dealerships and hotels. They, every 5 to 7 years, have a list of requirements that they have to keep up with. Otherwise, their brand is removed from them, and they're no longer to call themselves a Chevy dealership or a Hyatt or a Holiday Inn. And do you guys stay at the hotel that has no name? Because I don't. It's not gonna happen for me. So it's important for them to maintain standards. And sometimes those standards are quite high, and they have to force renovations into the millions of dollars. It's just a part of business, and they understand it, so they work it in. But every time that happens, we can revisit the cost segregation situation and get them benefit.
Yeah, without getting too technical, I want you to understand what happens. So, let's say that I get some new branding from On High for Hilton Gardens or whatever the case is. And so I go in and I put $2-3 million into this renovation. The IRS says, hey, that renovation should last you 39 years. Except Hilton Gardens isn't going to let that renovation last for 7 years,
Right.
let alone 39. So when I do that, imagine I wish I had some props. I'll do some props. So I've put all these components into my building that the IRS says, hey, that should last you 39 years. Well, when 5, 6, 7, 10 years in, I'm going to tear this carpet out and I'm going to throw it in the dumpster. Okay. There's a huge tax credit for that. That's the short of this. Okay. And then I'm going to tear out these walls, and I'm going to tear out, and we're going to do a reconfiguration, or we're going to, add something. We're going to completely redo the restaurant area. So these components all come out. Now, these components that the IRS said, hey, that should last you 39 years. That countertop you put in, all these other things. Nope, they're gone. So what we're going to do is we're going to get them a tax credit for that. But doesn't stop there, because they got to put countertop back in. They've got to put flooring and carpet back in. They've got to put all these components. So then we're going to get them a tax credit again for all those components that they put in. And Kendra, with things like car dealerships and hotels, again, I don't mean to beat this, but
it's constant.
This is constant. And you have to understand, with cost seg, we can go back 20 years. So in many cases, you look at a car dealership with 3 locations, or in this case, a hotel with 6 locations. How many have they bought in the last 20 years? How many have they built in the last 20 years? How many have they renovated in the last 20 years? Not to mention, how many will they do this year?
Like, for example, this client alone, they have 6 properties. They offset them, so they're not doing them at the same time. When they get into their contracts, it's a way that you can set it up within reason with your brand. And so they've done that. So just about every year, they're doing a huge renovation.
Yeah.
So Dan is set up for some great future commissions with this client, and the client is set up with some future benefit with us as well.
So, I want to remind everybody, this isn't just a one-way dialogue. Okay. In a little bit, we're going to be doing Q&A. We don't always stop and address stuff as we go, but if we hit something, ask us the question now, because we have a significant portion of, our calls that we set aside for that. Where we'll kind of go through some things. So please enter your questions. At the end of the day, Kendra, I'm gonna quiz you here.
Uh-oh.
Do we do this for the monthly broadcast so that you can stay on top of your slide development skills? B, because you really want to spend time in email automations and notifying everyone? Or C, I'm going to do fill in the blank if you have another answer. Why do we do this?
We do it for your benefit, not ours. It does take a lot of time behind the scenes. You'd be surprised how much one production for a broadcast, the amount of time that goes into it. But it's time well spent that we feel is well spent, because we're able to provide you information that you can turn around and use. For example, Basil said that he'd love to have part of this call to be able to show somebody who's in the hotel industry that he's been trying to get on board. Like, when we can do this and give you the information or the tools that you need to be successful, we're successful.
Yeah.
So obviously, it's not just out of the kindness of our heart. We want to be successful too. So we're trying to make you successful. But it's not so that I know how to use Canva very well. It's not so that my automations are great. No, It's so that we can bring something tangible to the table that you can use to be successful.
At the end of the day, we know you have some connections.
Mhm.
You have people you know. That's why you're here. You have someone, either a restaurant you eat at, a dentist that cleans your teeth.
And they're coming
hopefully,
to your mind right now as Ryan's
and,
rattling this list off.
A funeral home that one of your family members was buried at. Like there's connections. That one's dark. We're
Yeah, a
getting
little
dark
bit.
here. So let's go back to the car dealership that you bought your car from, whatever the case is. And you have connections, and we have this amazing thing that you can do for them that they would appreciate for the rest of their life.
And it's going to benefit you.
Yeah.
I mean,
If
we're all
you could
selfish at
go-
the core, right?
Yeah. If you could go put a couple $100,000 in one of these folks' pockets, like, they're going to benefit. But at the end of the day, we recognize, and Chris recognizes, we're going to be talking to him in a few, there's a gap between the connection you have and the money that you want to get them.
Right.
And that's what we're here to do today, is fill that gap. Kendra, I want to next kind of transition into what can we do for people. And this is kind of high level overview. If you want services training, if you're newer,
We've got plenty of that for you. Just reach out to support.
Yeah.
We can give you hours and hours, but really quick, let's just cover top level of what we're talking about.
So let's talk about 4 areas that we can help a business. Kendra, the first one is the R&D tax credit. Boy, does that sound scary. R&D, research and development.
It can seem a little intimidating, but honestly, it's not. It's been around forever. It's permanent. It is a payroll-based credit for not only manufacturers, but also companies who do innovation or technology and things like that. They've expanded the case use of what businesses can qualify for R&D so much that there's just a lot of companies now that fall under the umbrella and are able to utilize the R&D tax credit.
Yeah. Average benefit for R&D is over $500,000. And the best part is, again, this is lifetime for the client. It won't be $500,000 every time. That's up front.
Right.
But $500,000.
Can I explain what you mean by that? So lifetime, and so many of you are new. I just want to add this. So if you're old, forgive me. I know you're going to be irritated by this. What Ryan means by lifetime is a client who becomes a client for the R&D tax credit. We look at them evergreen, which means we look at them every single year. Once they're signed up with us, we continue to approach them as if they are an existing client already ready to go for the next year. And that's how we treat them. And so every year when they renew and we're getting them the R&D tax credit for that next year, you're getting paid.
Yeah.
And no matter how much you maintain or don't maintain that relationship, as long as we're able to keep them engaged with production, you're getting paid.
Yeah, we're still getting this client a 6-figure payroll benefit every single year, which means you're going to continue to get paid. So, the short of that, though, Kendra, is, I know it's more than manufacturers, but manufacturers, that's who you want to target for this. The next one is cost segregation. Again, a term most people have never heard of, but I can simplify and say a commercial property benefit is really what this is.
Right. And interestingly enough, it's not only business owners who own their property. There are a lot of businesses that do renovations to commercial property that they don't own. They're leaseholders. They'll put in hundreds of thousands of dollars into a leasehold position, and they also can benefit from the cost segregation benefit. So it's anyone who owns or has done significant renovations to a commercial property can benefit from cost segregation.
Yeah. Now, on this average benefit that you're looking at per property is going to be about $360,000. It can be a wide range. You might get one client $1 million. You might get another client $150,000,
Right.
but our average that we see, $360,000. Kendra, you mentioned this with I think it was the hotel work opportunity tax credit. This is actually a program that a lot of people are pretty familiar with,
Right.
as far as business owners.
Right. Business owners are familiar with it. For the most part, they view it as highly difficult to do unless you have a system, which we do for them.
Yep.
And what they're doing is they're looking at every candidate that they're potentially going to hire. And in that process, we discover that some will benefit. And so they get to capture that benefit. And on average, I believe their benefit is $63,000 annually. It's every quarter. It gets reviewed, submitted, and it's continual and consistent.
Yeah. So we're going to go in, we're going to get that client, all those. Now, the last category I want to talk about, you're seeing in the news every day, and that is these 2025 programs that are out. There are over 100 new programs that are available. Some of them are at a local level. Some of them are at a state level, like Georgia's manufacturing credit is insane. Michigan, Michigan decided this year for the first year ever that we're a manufacturing state. I don't know why they missed the memo when General Motors and Ford and everyone else decided, but we were one of the only states not to have a state level credit. But
now we have one.
Now we have one. I guess better late than never. On top of, Donald Trump really likes his pen because he likes to get in there with that fat Sharpie and sign new stuff every day. Listen, the only thing you're seeing on the news are things that are like sexy and controversial and widespread, but every single day there are new programs coming out. Now, there's some question of, well, how would you know about that? How would you be trained? And the answer is you're not trained on that. Kendra, this is all encompassed in what we call the tax management system. This is our platform. If you're new around here, this is QuickBooks for tax credits, basically. Clients use our system in their daily or weekly interactions when they hire people, when they fire people, when they're out there running ads for employment.
They purchase a new building.
When they purchase a new building, when they move someone to a new role, from the office out to, the CNC machine or whatever the case is. Mm-hmm. Every time they're doing those interactions, what we're doing is our software is looking in the background for hundreds of local, state, and federal tax incentives. So when Georgia came out with the new tax incentive for manufacturing, when Michigan puts theirs in place this year, already has, but now that it's in place, this is just already going on in the background. You don't have to do anything besides.
And before you guys ask, does that included in the, is it already, a part of the survey? Is it in the tax management system? You don't ever have to ask that question. Even if your untrained eye doesn't see a difference, rest assured, behind the scenes, it is there. It is doing what it's supposed to be.
Well, I had somebody ask last month, they said, well, wait, there's a brand new state program and that wasn't one of our check boxes when my client signed up last year.
Don't worry about it.
Listen, the first thing they did when they signed up for tax management system is tell us their addresses for all 3, 4, 5, 6, 10 of their locations. We already know where they operate. We know where they have employees. And, Kendra, because we get paid when they get paid.
Right. We keep track.
We keep track of those things. So
trust us.
Yeah. So that's a good high level overview of what is available for a client. Kendra, talk for a few moments about who qualifies. Now, you've got on here, and I like this, employers and commercial property owners.
I mean, when you get down to brass tacks, that's what it is. An employer or anyone who owns commercial property, or just a business owner. But there's obviously always going to be individual industries that rise to the top, cream of the crop. And we've talked about this in the past. They're not all created equal. The top always is going to be manufactured. Manufacturers qualify for everything. And that's why we push you in that direction so much. You guys saw the example just from a few moments ago. They had a huge qualification and had just about every one of our major services. So manufacturing is huge. Focus on them if you get a chance to. We get more money from them. For them. And so you guys get paid more money. And that's what we're talking about. I feel like the second highest is always hotels. They just tend to have such a high qualification level for cost segregation as well as WOTC. So that would be my second. Apartment complexes, they're constantly having to renovate and they are a pro-profit. So just because it's a residential situation, they're business. It's apartment complexes. They qualify. We've done hundreds of apartment complexes in the past. Auto dealerships, we spoke about it earlier. And I think I saw a question about this. What are the reasons why a car dealership would have for expensing their renovations rather than taking costs? Like, I don't know on that one, but they do these forced renovations on a schedule. And therefore, when they do that, we can do the cost segregation, get them a benefit for it. Restaurants, again, high turnover, constantly having to renovate. So both cost segregation and WOTC. Medical offices too, surprisingly, a little bit, tend to be really high qualifiers because they tend to be owned either by a small group or by the doctor themselves. And so there's not a lot of red tape you have to get through. And the question would be, well, why would an apartment or a medical office versus a regular office be a higher qualifier? When you think about a medical office, Ryan pointed out earlier, there's these components of the building. An office is an empty shell, besides the doors, the walls, what have you. A medical office has sinks, cabinetry, specialty electrical, lighting, all of these different things that make them a much higher qualifier. And there is a longer list that we're going to talk about later in our broadcast. And I think Robert was pointed out earlier, there's over 40 industries that qualify for R&D. And so we're going to talk more about that later. But these are those high qualifiers, the ones that don't ever turn anyone down. Don't ever disqualify a potential client. But if you're out there searching and you're searching for the high dollar people, this is going to be who you're looking for.
Absolutely. And the other thing, if forgive me, I was reading comments if you already said this, but medical offices also have a lack of bureaucracy.
We touched on that.
There's a high profitability level.
Yep.
So they're really good ones. What a lot of these companies have in common, though, is either manufacturers qualify for everything we do. That's what makes them good. The rest of this list, I would say one of the things you're going to notice is they tend to own their own building and they tend to have a lot of locations.
Mhm.
Okay. That's what makes them
Multiples.
yeah, a great candidate for that. So obviously you now know who is a good candidate. You know what we can do for them. You know, we have a product that people actually want. So, you know, we've got to kind of look, Kendra, and see where this gap is because you've got a lot of potential clients that hopefully just came to mind. But then the question is, how do you fill that gap to, you know, them becoming a paying client that you
That's
earn
the $1 million
lifetime
question, right?
residual on? Absolutely.
If we can answer that question, you're all going to be rich, right?
Yeah.
But we do have an answer for that. And we've proven it over and over again. And earlier we had 2 client examples that proved it as well. Getting your client on a call with an expert is going to get them to close 9 times out of 10.
Absolutely. So now let's put on screen Chris Kramer's cell phone number. You can just call him.
We did have a
night.
couple people saying they needed to get a hold of him.
Yeah, no, there's a process for this. Listen, let me tell you. So Chris has been the man of many titles, not because of any other reason than we changed the name of the department very often. Way back in the day, it was National Account Manager. Chris, do you remember when you were a NAM? National Account Manager. And at one point, Chris's title was closer, literally. But then an advisor introduced Chris as a closer, and we're like, no, that's internal dialogue. So, but what Chris does, for those of you that understand, when Chris was, first starting with us, he was an advisor, just like you, okay, just like everybody on this call. He was an advisor that went out there and just got clients. And one of the things that was he had a unique perspective of how to get clients from potential savings into paid client. Okay. And, we looked at that and, Chris, forgive me, I can't think offhand, although you could type in the comments how long you've been with us. But it's well over a decade. I know that. And so, as we're looking at that, we said, Chris, we really want you to head the team of people nationally. So there's an entire team of people that are closers, that are national account managers, that are team leaders, that are, subject matter experts. They go by many titles. But the important thing that you need to understand about Chris and his team is that they fill the gap between potential clients that could benefit us, could benefit from large sums of cash flow to becoming paid clients. And the way that they do that is through, again, a process that Kendra has been many names. It's been discovery call. Yeah. It's been closing call. Don't call it closing call. Your client doesn't want to attend a closing call.
No, they really don't.
That was a mistake on our part to ever call it closing call. That was internal terminology, but it's been called a discovery call, a survey call, a closing call, a client savings call. Listen, it doesn't matter. At the end of the day, what you need to do is you need to get your client on the phone with Chris or a member of his team, because they're going to be able to fill that gap between potential client and paying client. So Kendra and I can talk all day long about bonus depreciation and all kinds of sexy tax stuff. At the end of the day, this is the guy that every half hour on the half hour is either on the phone with one of you doing a coaching call, or on the phone with one of your partnerships, or on the phone with one of the clients, bring them in for pay. So with that, give your attention to Heather and Chris.
Hey, Chris, thank you so much for taking the time to join us today. Welcome.
Hey, Heather, happy to see you. Happy to be here. How you doing?
I'm doing well. So I really would love to hear your take on the side of being an expert, because you've been an expert with us for quite some time now. And recently, over the past few years, you took on the role of managing our team of experts. So you really have that insider knowledge on what that's all about.
Absolutely. I think the best thing to start with is, for a team leader, what we do is help facilitate opportunities. So we work with your road to relationships. And if you're not sure what that is, we basically help mine opportunities. We look through all your contacts, help you design, figure out which one of those contacts are the best ones to start with, which one of the clients you might have, and help coach you with verbiage on the approach and what you should say to them, and customize that for each one of those. So that'd be the main thing initially, what we do with the new advisor.
Because even though everyone gets the same action plan and the amazing quick start, you want to tweak it. You want it to be your own voice. You want it to sound like it's coming from you. And an expert can really help do that and can help you leverage what connections you have versus just going out and trying to, reinvent the wheel, so to speak.
Yeah, I think it's important, especially, a couple examples. If you're working with someone who's in commercial real estate or a CPA, for instance, there's going to be certain things that, we've dealt with time and time again that we can help coach, what to say, what not to say, keep it limited. Here's the, hot points for them, and then get them in that door relatively easy.
Absolutely. Because you guys as experts, you've all been out there in the field. You've done this and you've helped coach others. So now you can take all of that knowledge and really help craft it to a unique individual approach with everyone that you speak to.
Yeah, it's how we speed up the process. You don't need to come in as an expert. You don't need to know all the aspects of all the different industries we work in. But by having this coaching session initially, or each one of your opportunities, we can really dive deep into that and share with you the most potent conversation with them to get them, on the call with you or meet them face to face.
Now, when you're on calls with, our partners and their clients, what is really the goal of what that expert call is to do?
Well, that call is really to obviously make sure the client's comfortable with moving forward, answer any of their questions. But really, it goes back to facilitation. Is to facilitate that moving forward into production, get them comfortable with moving forward and into one of the services.
Now, you've been on a lot, let's say probably close to 1,000 easily of these calls. When do you think is really the time to book a call with an expert? Because so many clients do just go through the activation on the landing page. When is it really most appropriate to go ahead and book that call?
Yeah, I think when you come to an opportunity where you've identified benefits and there's just maybe a little, point of conjecture where they just need some questions answered. And, we don't expect you to be the expert. And so if they need a couple of questions answered, we're happy to jump on a call and answer those and then move them forward. So I would say, 80%, 90% of the time, you're not going to need someone to do that. Mm-hmm. Clients are just going to go ahead and activate. They're going to see the money that's there available to them and move forward. But every so often, you're going to have one of those clients that just need to have that comfort, some questions answered, and then move forward. And we've done it, like you said, over and over again. So we know exactly how to handle those.
Exactly. And because you've done so many, what kind of questions or what kind of information do you think clients are really looking for most on that expert call?
I think they're just looking for comfort. It's something new to them. Most of these services, they're not familiar with.
Mm-hmm.
Their CPAs and accountants haven't brought up to them. And so it's new to them. And they're excited about what could potentially be in their pocket, but it's new and they just need a little hand-holding.
And if an advisor's done their job right, they've already gone through, that questionnaire, they've done that calculator tool, they've shown what amazing estimate is sitting there on these services. So really, it's just about adding that expertise behind it, because we've been doing this for over 20 years and we have a lot of knowledge behind us, and being able to kind of bring that to the table when it's needed, I think is really what that expert call is all about.
Yeah, one thing is, I think it's just lending a little confidence.
Mm-hmm.
And, most of these people are ready to go, and you just need someone on the call that can just kind of guide them through, facilitate them through. It's nothing special.
Mm-hmm.
We've just done it a number of times, and we get on those calls, we can help facilitate that.
Now, do you find most partners when they, start booking these calls, do you find it's beneficial for those that are in that premium program to have that same expert on all of the calls that's also there for their coaching and helping them with their action plan? When those kind of get melded together, what have you seen as that in terms of the result?
Yeah, it's an added benefit. Whether you have a team leader or not, you're going to get all the resources. If you need someone on a call, there's going to be someone there. But when you're able to have a relationship with someone, their style, they know your style,
mm-hmm.
they kind of feel a lot more comfortable. And I think that's really the power of that, is building that relationship.
Absolutely. Because as you said, everyone, when they use that book a call page, it gets them the right expert on the call. But it's just kind of that added benefit of having the person that you've already spoken to. You guys have talked about your road to relationships that you mentioned. You guys have gone through leveraging the best clients out of either their book of business or the market they're looking to target. So being able to have that rapport together, you guys have already melded your styles. You kind of know how each other communicates, and being able to go to the call with that, it's just kind of a leg up.
It is. And again, it lends that confidence to that agent or that advisor.
And being able to book, and say, my buddy Chris, and being able to bring that person on as an expert that you already have that with is really nice, having that relationship built. For those that aren't, though, and being able to still have an expert come to the call, I'm sure there's still just as equal of success with that.
Absolutely. Yeah. No matter how you bring us to the call, it doesn't matter.
the goal is still going to be the same, right? To get them across that finish line, whether you've had that rapport built up with that person as your expert or not. The expert's goal is still the same. It's getting that client across the finish line, adding that confidence, like you said, and just helping make sure that we're moving everything forward.
Absolutely.
Now, when we're doing that on the call and we're moving everything forward and we're walking through, quite often you guys are walking through those activation links from the client card, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And that's where, really I was just going to say, that's where sometimes agents and advisors get a little bit, like, I'm not sure what to do from here because they haven't been through that process yet.
Yes.
We've done this over and over and over again. So yeah, we'll pull that up. We'll walk the client right through that and how to activate that.
You guys are kind of the well-oiled machine. This is not the first time for you guys, but for many of our partners, it might be. So it's really nice having you guys be able to go through that, and then they can do it a little bit more smoothly on their own moving forward too, for the times that it doesn't need an expert.
Yeah. Once you see it once or twice or 3 times, you're going to pick this stuff up. And of course, we're still here to help you out. But once you've seen the common objections that come up, which there's only a handful, once you see how you walk someone through and getting started, it's like riding a bike. Once you pick it up, you never forget it.
Now, are there any little golden nuggets you'd like to share with us of something that an expert is able to say to a client? Just little pieces that you found might help them with understanding that confidence in terms of what we've been doing for so long.
Wow, that's a loaded question.
I know. There's a lot of directions you can go with that.
Well, I think especially when it comes to strategic partnerships or CPAs in general, there's a lot of things that we can actually talk to them about because we've done so many deals with them on what motivates them to motivate their client.
Absolutely.
There's certain common objections they come up with that are easily diffused once you bring them up. And I think that's really the key.
I love that. Motivate them to motivate their client. That's really kind of empowering them to move their client across, because once they really see the benefit and understand it, because these aren't services that are typically in their wheelhouse, and that's why we're the experts, helping them understand it really helps push that client across too, because then they're over there, kind of poking with a stick too, saying, hey, let's get this done because we want to do your tax filing and I want to get you that benefit.
Yes, and they'd like their billable hours too.
Absolutely. Now, when it comes to strategic partnerships, kind of bringing you guys in as experts for that, that is another piece of being able to have that expert on your side, is building those relationships, not just with clients, but with their CPAs and with lots of different opportunity to have other people open up other doors for you too, because a lot of the time those CPAs then bring on other clients too.
Yeah, I mean, this is what Road to Relationships is all about. It's not just the people personally, it's not just your friends and family type thing. Really what this is looking at everything. Who do you do business with? Who are your accountants or CPAs? If you bought commercial property or bought a property for, who's your real estate agent? You have property and casualty. Who is that agent? Who's helped you with that? And then once we understand who those people are, we understand those backgrounds. And now that we understand the relationship you have with them, we can help you cultivate a message to them, that approach that gets them interested. And then we're happy to hop on a call with them and talk through how this would benefit them, why this would benefit their clients, what the process is. We can make it very seamless, very smooth. And that's part of the Road to Relationships, not just who can we go talk to and bring these services to, but who can we talk to that can open the doors, like you said, to many more clients.
It's so much more than just, I've used my landing page to book a call and I had an expert show up to this call. There's so much more that experts can do on these calls and in the background as a part of that.
Sure. I mean, one thing we'll do with just your clients is we're going to ask them about their CPA, right? Who is that? Can we reach out to them? Or maybe we need to reach out to them. And now we've got a contact there. And now we can develop that relationship on their behalf for them and maybe open up that book of business.
Well, I definitely think after today, everyone's going to feel even more empowered to start using those experts that they haven't before and get set up to start using your amazing team, because there really is so much knowledge and power that comes with that.
Now, we got a great team. We're here to help. So anything you guys need, let us know.
Are there any final words of wisdom you'd like to share with everyone today on utilizing an expert or just kind of getting out there and get going with it?
I think the word of wisdom would be get started. Get with your team leader, start to go through and find those opportunities. Let your team leader help you, coach you on that approach, and get going. We want to get you a win quickly. We want to facilitate business and make you some money.
It all starts when you hit the pavement, right? You really got to put it into motion.
Yep, you got to get started.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much, Chris, for joining us today. I've really enjoyed having you on, and hopefully we'll have you on a lot of different segments in the future.
Looking forward to it. Thank you, Heather.
That was great. I
Yeah.
love it. I want Chris on all the time. He said something that really made me think, and I've never heard it. Like, they do such a different job than anything I've ever done.
Yeah.
When Heather asked the question, like, what are they looking for, the client? And he said comfort.
Yeah.
Like, in coming from someone who's at their level, it's a level of comfort that I don't think an advisor or partner can always bring to the table. So I found that really interesting and kind of eye-opening, because I've been working here how long time, and I never thought of it like
You
that
don't want to
way.
date yourself?
No, not really. But I appreciated that, and I'm here and I'm in the inner workings. So thank you so much, Chris, for joining us. We will have you with us more often. And Heather, thank you for the interview.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I saw some questions, and actually one of them I want to touch on. It came up several times actually, but I think this one's really good. And that is, how difficult is it to coordinate your schedule for a client considering your busy schedule? This is all an automated process, and we'll actually show it in a little bit, but it's not difficult at all because, when you're on your Let's Talk page, which we'll show you in a few minutes, then this is going to go out. It's going to look and see who your assigned team leader is. It's going to pull up their calendar live and in real time. And you just lock down that booking.
And it
block
doesn't
right
necessarily mean that it's going to be Chris. Chris is our individual who manages the entire team of team leaders. Every one of our team leaders is amazing. So whomever you get, they're going to bring as much expertise to the table as Chris brings.
Absolutely. So I want to talk, just because another question I saw over here played into, what we were talking about now. So I want to talk a little bit about, just kind of what to say and focus in a little bit on that. Sorry, Heather, I'm pressing buttons at the same time as you are. So I got to let you do your job. Sorry. So, maybe you're looking at this and you're saying, okay, I understand who qualifies for our services. I understand what types of industries. I understand what we can offer them. I understand that I need to get them in front of my team leader, but what do I say to do that? And don't worry about writing this down, because we'll show you where to get this here towards the end of the call. But as an example script, I need to personalize this. But as an example, when you're talking to someone, I guess let me start there on the word talking. How are you talking to them? Well, you could be stopping by their office. You could be stopping by the restaurant that they own. You could be, texting with them. You could be picking up the phone and call them. You could be emailing them. That's all talking. That's what I mean when I say talking. But what you're going to do is you're going to start by, hey, Mike, quick question. When it was available, did you guys take advantage of PPP or ERC? And then you're going to wait for them to respond. And you've seen me share this before, where I've done this on text message or on Facebook Messenger, LinkedIn Messenger, and you send that and you wait to respond. What if it's days? Doesn't matter. You wait for them to respond. And, so you let them know. And here's the thing, Kendra, it doesn't matter what they say.
Right.
If they say, yeah, we took ERC and it was great, or, oh, we tried to take ERC and our CPA said that we didn't qualify, whatever the case is. Well, actually, there's about $2.3 trillion still available in other business tax credits. And, most of the companies they work with don't even realize they qualify for. So let's set up a quick call so that we can see what you qualify for. And then you're going to use your Let's Talk page to book that time, which we'll show in a minute. But I want to talk here about two different ways to do this. One of which is more of the provider method, and the other one is what I would call the buddy method. So let me explain the difference. So when you're talking to someone, Heather, I'm going to go to solo view if I can figure out how, just for a few. There I go. Yeah. So when you're talking to someone, it could be, hi, I'm Ryan the realtor, and we've brought these tax services into the agency. And that would be kind of the provider method, in which case you get to be a little more of a provider. You're a little bit more where you're the expert, that kind of thing. And that's a valid method. And the other one is the buddy method. And that is, I'm Ryan the realtor, and maybe I don't want them to think that I'm the tax guy, because I don't want to confuse things with my realtor business. And in which case, I've got a buddy, Chris. I got a buddy, Kate. I got a buddy, Steve, or Dan, or Forgive me if I'm not including one of the team leaders, but I'm just naming a few. And so as you're doing that, you got to kind of decide which way you want to go. And Heather, you can pull that script back up for a second. I want to do it both ways. The first way, I'll be a provider. Okay. Hey, Mike, quick question. Did you guys take advantage of PPP back when it was available? Oh yeah, we did. That was great. Da, da, da. Yeah. Well, those programs are expired, but there's actually 2.3 trillion available in other tax incentives. Now, because we find that most companies have not taken advantage of the new programs, our firm has actually added a specialized tax division. What I'd like to do is set up a time for you to speak with one of our specialized tax agents or specialized tax advisors and or one of our subject matter experts or one of our manufacturing tax credit representatives, whatever the case is, and allow you to see what you qualify for. Okay, see what I did there? I made it part of my agency. Let me say that again for those of you. So, hey, Mike, did you guys take advantage of PPP or ERC? Yeah, that was great. Well, those programs are all expired. But the good news is there's 2.3 trillion available in other programs. Now, Ryan and Associates has added a specialized tax division. And what I'd actually like to do is set up a time for you to speak with someone from our tax division. And they work specifically with manufacturers here in Southeast Michigan to identify and find tax credits that you'd qualify for. So, would 2 p.m. on Tuesday work? That's kind of the agency model. Let's talk about the buddy model for a minute. So, especially where you've got a relationship and maybe you've known them for 10 years as Ryan, the realtor. I'm a residential real estate agent. They know I'm bad at math. So how do I possibly know anything about these tax credit things? That's okay. This is where we're going to use the buddy approach. Now, Kate is my team leader. I have a team leader. When you see my page, if I book a call, it goes to Kate. So I'll use her as an example. No offense, Chris. I got assigned to Kate. I'm not in charge of the assignment. So no hate towards Chris, but Kate's my team leader. So if I'm booking that, this is what that would look like. Hey, Mike, let me ask you, how are things going? I'm skipping past all the normal stuff, Kendra, where we talk about, how's business? How's life? How's the kids? All that stuff. The chit chat. Once you get kind of through that and things like that, let me ask you, Mike, did you guys take the ERC credit and PPP and all that? Yeah. And how'd that do for your business? Oh, it was great having that extra cat. Let them talk for a minute. Well, did you guys take advantage of the other, manufacturing credits that are available for, manufacturers in Michigan? No, I've never heard of that, or I don't think so. Did you guys get that big check this year? No, I don't, everything. Well, listen, I got a buddy, Kate Johnson. She helps manufacturers here in Michigan find tax incentives. I got to introduce you guys. Okay. Yeah. How would I do that? Actually, I got Kate's calendar right here because she does a lot of work with our firms. In fact, she's been able to help a lot of my clients out. Let me get you going here because I actually have direct access to her calendar and you book. Okay. Here's the thing and you can go back to solo view there, Heather. Chris, Kate, everybody, they don't care how you introduce them. They don't care if it's your buddy. They don't care if it's your business partner. They don't care if it's a tax division. Okay. Chris doesn't care if he works for you in the mailroom or if he is the subject matter expert, as long as you don't over exaggerate his qualifications, which would be hard to do because Chris and Kate and all the other folk, they're highly qualified to do this. Mm-hmm. Okay. So I'm not by any means saying lie about who they are. You're not saying Chris, he's over in Washington right now, working out the deal. He's, if you look over Trump's right shoulder, he's setting tax advice. No, that's not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is Chris can either be an extension of your company, which he is, or he can be your buddy, which if you get a deal, he will be. Okay. He'll be your buddy. So it doesn't matter there. So Kendra, I think I've beat that to death, but I want to
touch, you guys have great questions coming in. We're actually tagging them. We're going to address them all at the same time. So continue to have those coming in. Antonio, we're going to cover yours here in just a minute. There is one thing. So Ryan just covered what to say. The next thing is obviously, what are you going to do? And we always give you every step you guys need on what you need to do. And in this instance, it's the Let's Talk page. And that was Antonio's question just a moment ago. I'm going to share.
By the way, that number there, that's our number. That's my page's number. So don't write that. We'll show you yours in a moment.
You'll be making Ryan some money. Don't use that.
Or on second thought, yes, send all your clients to this page.
So obviously, Antonio, your question is setting up, we are not calling it a discovery call. It's just a call with an expert over the phone. Are we setting them up on our Let's Talk page? You are indeed. And there's lots of ways to get to it and how to utilize it. And you all know from working with us, even if it's just been a short period of time or a long period of time, that my team and I always try to go the extra mile and give you a tool to use to simplify everything. We've done the same thing for this month, and we're going to pull everything in together under your blueprint page, which you should be familiar with. If you've been with us any longer than 30 days, we update your blueprint page every month for what our current focus is. And we've actually taken it and kind of streamlined it and simplified it for this month so that we stay on track. And Ryan's going to walk us through that visually here in just a second.
Absolutely. So actually, Heather, you can switch over to from slides to my laptop. And so right now, this is the very page that you are on. And so, as you're looking at this, this page right here, for those of you that are watching YouTube or Facebook or something, you're probably seeing this a little different than I'll say for you folks. Your toolbox is what I mean by that. And so on this page, Heather, when you can switch to the view that you're always, sorry about that. Yeah. And you can bring us both up. There you go. I don't know why I talk. Heather, be in my mind and do the switcher where it's supposed to. Yeah. So on this page, this very page where you're watching us right now, don't click off of it because you'll lose us.
Literally, it will take you somewhere else. You'll lose our complete thing. So do not do this right now, please.
But sneakily, Kendra, down below the white space has your blueprint here. I will go to this. You stay with us. Keep watching. So later after the call, just scroll down. If you're on YouTube, go to your toolbox. You're on Facebook, go to your toolbox. But if you're watching on the web player, you'll just click that and it's going to take you over to your blueprint page. And so let's walk through this. This is this month's plan, including how to book with your team leader. And we've got another kind of bonus item that's on here. We haven't
and
talked
you'll
about
notice, those of you who've been using this month over month, you'll notice that I've simplified it. My team has simplified it quite a bit. It's 3 steps to get to the call. And I think that was stretching it. Honestly, I needed 3 spots to fill. So I made it into 3 steps. But clearly, the first thing you're going to do, and I am looking above. I'm sorry, I'm not looking directly at you. I'm looking above so I can see the screen that you're looking at as well. First thing we're going to do.
Your eyesight's not good enough for the teleprompter? No.
Even with that LASIK surgery that I paid thousands of dollars for. So identifying the high qualifiers. We've been talking about this consistently for months now. We showed you those 2 examples earlier of partners and their clients and how they followed through and what benefit and commission they've got coming. So we want you to do the same. And in priority order, that's going to be those manufacturers with 100 plus employees, easy to find everywhere in the country. Do not come at me and say we don't have manufacturers. I will send you my map. Yeah. And you can see in your area where your manufacturers are. Second is going to be businesses with 3 or more commercial property or physical locations. And the third is professional relationships. And if you scroll down.
1 second. Professional relationships that can get you in front of number 1 or number 2.
Right. So there's a caveat there. But if you scroll down, I gave you a list of inspiration. Now, when you're looking at this, I don't want you making a list of, I know one metal fab. I know use this for inspiration, but then make your list.
Yes. There's something about, a physical piece of paper and a pencil or an iPad, a Surface, whatever the case is, that Kendra, when you're looking through this is what I want you to do. Oh, food and beverage processor. Okay. Yeah.
That's
I know
Jeff's
somebody,
company.
Tool and die. I don't know somebody, but I know a realtor and he has or I know one of my insurance buddies, whatever the case is. Absolutely.
That's exactly what this list is for. It's for you to walk through and use it to write out a list for inspiration. So take a few minutes to do that. That's step 1.
Not right now.
No.
Afterwards.
Step 2 is going to be connecting with them. And that is exactly the script that Ryan just went over with you. And we've talked about this in the past. You don't have to read it word for word. You don't have to use it. Use the couple of items in there that are key, like, did you guys take advantage? There's 2.3 trillion, get the call, but make it your own and use your own voice, because that's going to make all the difference in the world. If you're comfortable with what you're saying and you're hitting those key points, you're going to get the call scheduled.
I'm on my page. When you're on your page, this will be your name and your direct page and your Let's Talk page and things like that. Next step is, Kendra, they're going to actually book the call.
Now, those of you, I've seen many questions throughout today's broadcast. How do I book the call? Where do I book the call? That's step by step laid out for you right here. The support department can also help you. The link is also right at the top of your toolbox, so you can't miss it wherever you're at. We've given you the instructions over and over and over again.
No,
and it's pretty simple.
So this is your Let's Talk page, your personal one. This is tied to you. This client becomes yours. There's a couple of ways that they can get to this. One way is that you call them and you physically sit here and say, just like I was, hey, Mike, did you guys take ERC? Okay, great. Actually, that's great. So your manufacturer, how many employees do you have? And you're going to go through and you're just going to do this. Do this on the phone for them. They don't email this to them and say, do it later. And you're just go through and say, now let me ask you a couple quick questions. How many people do you hire per year? And listen, one of the credits that we look at is a payroll credit. And the larger your payroll is, the more money you get. What is your annual payroll? And, they go through and, sorry, I put a minus sign, and they say $4.3 million. You just say in ballpark. Okay. They say, great. Well, hey, listen, we're already off to a good start. We're looking at about $250,000 in benefit for you. And that's before your commercial property benefit. Do you own any commercial property? And they say, yeah, I own 2 locations. Okay, great. What year did you buy them? Okay, Kendra, this is conversational. I'm at my desk. I'm on the phone with someone. You're walking through. The good news is you're like, hey guys, we're already over $700,000. After I click next a few times, what you're going to see is your team leader's calendar in real time, and you're going to book a call. Do they have to enter a credit card to book a call? No. Do they have to sign their life? No, you can do this on the phone for them. Your other way is, Kendra, you could email someone or text them. You say, hey, here's a link. Go ahead and book a call with Kate. Or go ahead and book a call with Chris. Go ahead and book a call with Steve.
There's a key to that,
the case
though.
is.
Do not end your communication with them by sending the link. Yeah. Send it if it's a text or whatever, and then follow up a few minutes. Say, I'm going to follow up in 3 or 4 minutes to make sure you got it booked and see if you have any questions. And if you follow up and they don't, just keep that going, because if you just send it and there is no follow up, they're not going to do it.
Yeah.
It's like a toddler, guys. You got to follow up. You got to redirect them back. You got to get them to do it. And you have to stay in communication with them until they do. Just do it in a friendly manner.
Now, here's the cool part. 37% of the people, Kendra, before the call takes place, they actually go in and start claiming the tax credits. Mm-hmm. They activate. Okay. So, don't discourage, don't tell people, you imagine if somebody said, hey, are you interested in getting Netflix? And Chris talked about this a little, like a lot of people, by the time they show up for the call, they're already a client. They're already in there. They've uploaded documents and everything.
Don't mess with it. Let them do it.
Let them do that. If they want to go through the process. So what we're going to do when you do this over the phone with them is we're going to send them an invite. But let's recap a little bit. And then Kendra's got something special for everybody. First thing you're going to do is you're going to look at this list and you're going to be inspired, and you're going to write down 10 or 20 names. Okay. And, just write those down, have them. Second thing you're going to do is you're going to establish communication with them. Okay. You're going to use this pitch right here to, go through the process. And, I got to tell you, I know phone is efficient. I know social is efficient, but Heather, go full screen for a minute. There is nothing, and I mean nothing, I like more than walking in and talking to someone or bumping into someone. Okay. And I got to tell you, I love having my iPad. I've recently switched over to the mini. Before that, I had the regular classic. I feel like I'm selling iPads. I'm not. What I like about both of these is that if you're one of the ones, if you use our marketing kit, you're going to notice it is the perfect size.
Even for the mini,
this is great. And so I always have these bad boys in my car. And so, if I'm going I was just in a business meeting the other day, this is how I'm going in. It's very casual. I'm talking to someone. I don't have a laptop bag with me. I don't have anything. It frees my hands up. And when the time is, I can just sit here and like, Kendra, how you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you?
You didn't know we're going into role play, but we are. I just, so how, man, your manufacturing facility, every time I drive by, there's a ton of cars there.
We stay
you guys
busy.
are really killing it.
Yeah, we stay pretty busy. Things slowed down just like for everybody, but through, the pandemic, but we're fine. We stay pretty busy.
Well, I bet that all that PPP money and ERC and everything have been thrown at people the last 5 years. Hasn't hurt.
It didn't last very long. We got it. But
Oh,
it
you guys are
didn't-
through that already?
Oh, yeah.
What about the new stuff that Michigan's put into play?
I wasn't aware there was anything
Did you guys
new
get
available.
those checks yet?
No.
Oh,
no.
okay.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, I got a buddy, or let me take the non-buddy approach. So yeah, actually that's one of the things we've done as a real estate firm
Mhm.
is we found so many of our clients were, really in a position where they, could qualify for these things, but didn't know how to take them. So actually I've got one, this was for another client, but I don't mind running back out to my car later. So these are some of the tax credits that are available. Now I'm using the printed packet. Listen, if you don't like printed stuff, then that's fine. Let's go this way. So yeah, actually what I'd like to do is book a time for you. And Kate Johnson is our manufacturing specialist. And, it's like a 10-minute phone call. So let's get that set
Really?
up.
It's just 10 minutes. I'm not going to be like on the phone for an hour, right? I don't have time for that.
Listen, you're probably talking $200,000-300,000. So I think it's worth 10 minutes.
I'll take a look at it.
Let me ask you, how many employees do you guys have here?
This facility, we have 370.
Okay, I'm going to go through the same survey. And when I'm done, I'm booking it right here. This is my favorite way. If you go out there and do that in person, you're in good shape. You walk out of there, you put some FaceTime in. So listen, if you can do the face side of things, that's the way to go. But it works anyways. Heather, yeah, thank you. I don't know why I even
She knows how to do her job.
you. So first step, make a list, 10 to 20 people. Second step, connect with them. How? In person, social, email, text. Kendra, would it be safe to say all of the above?
Any way you can
How
communicate in
many
an
times do you
appropriate
have to
manner.
communicate with someone before it usually?
Guys, you know this. You're in sales. You're going to have to communicate multiple times. It used to be 7. It used to be 17. A lot. Just do it appropriately. You know how to do this. This isn't that hard. You need to reach out to them.
Have these dialogues all the time. Have them at the grocery store. Always have your Let's Talk page ready, okay? Because no matter where you're at, you better have this cut and paste in a notepad on your phone. Because you bump into someone, you should be booking a call, not like, I'll follow up with you later.
We've had some partners create a little QR code to their Let's Talk page.
Yeah.
I mean, it works amazing. I thought, why didn't we think of that?
Okay.
But
make your list, communicate with your list over and over again, get them booked with Chris or one of Chris's team members. That's it for this part. You've got a bonus item. So let's talk about that.
You guys know that we always try to take things to the next level, and we're going to do that again this month as well. And we talked about earlier those types of potential clients, the manufacturers with over 100 employees, the businesses with more than 3 locations, and those key professional relationships that will lead to high value clients. If you have any of these, we want to hear from you right now in the chat and anything, either thumbs up.
Yeah, let us know right now.
Emojis, whatever you feel. If you just want to type it out.
Set you up with one. Some people said, how do I get a hold of Chris? Here's how you get a hold of Chris. You want to do a one-on-one coaching call with Chris, Kate, Steve, Dan, your team leader, member of our team. This is how you do it right now. Either an emoji, something, let us know, or you can say, I know a bunch of manufacturers, or Kendra, this businesses with 3 or more locations. You could say
it can be anything that it can even be a business owner who has different businesses.
Yeah.
If they've got a couple of them, throw it like, I know somebody that owns a car dealership. They're also involved in some resale stuff, and they own a restaurant. Throw them in there. Those are 3 different locations. So let's start seeing it. I'm seeing a couple of them, a few targets.
I'm seeing a couple, but guys, that's weak. I'm being honest.
If this is all we have, I'm a little concerned, to be honest with you.
I know that many of you have a connection with a manufacturer, or you have a connection. So listen, let us know if you want to do a one-on-one call, have someone help you work these. Now let's talk about this third category for a minute. Key professional relationships that could lead to high value opportunities. What are high value opportunities? We just defined them up here.
Right.
So in other words, this could be a CPA that has a lot of manufacturing companies. It could be a manufacturing sales rep that's a buddy of yours that sells to manufacturers.
Or a manufacturing organization who works with different manufacturers. There's so many different types of relationships that will lead you to those high value opportunities.
Now, who are professionals that are in front of people that own 3+ locations? Well, commercial builders, commercial realtors,
service workers,
architectural engineering firms, CPAs. So if you have connections that are going to put you in front of one of these categories, in addition to emojiing us or letting us know, Kendra, there's a form.
Right.
We're
We're going to take it and we're going to make this official because there's something that we want to happen. We want you to be able to get on the phone with your team leader, someone, either Chris or someone like him, and create a strategic approach to capturing those clients.
So
the whole thing for today's call, our theme is to stop chasing and start closing. This is how you're going to start doing that. We're going to provide the expertise of our high value people that work for us. Like they know how to do this. They're going to walk you through this, tell you what you need to do to get them on the phone, to get that call scheduled. So this is at the very bottom of your blueprint page.
I'll show you some context here.
Yep.
You've got, this is your blueprint page. Remember, how did we get to the blueprint page?
We clicked on the button you're not supposed to click on yet.
You scroll down and you click blueprint. As soon as this call's over, as soon as the broadcast's over, then you've got all this information, this takeaway. And
I put it all the way at the bottom so you wouldn't skip all the good information. It's going to take you about 30 seconds to fill this out, but I wanted it to be official. We did, because this is a way that we're going to strategically help you. We've never done this before. We've had different articles and trainings and what have you, but as far as this direct one-on-one, I think we did it years and years and years ago. We're opening it back up to you today because we want this month and through the end of tax season to be a high qualifying time for you. I keep using that word, but I mean, that's what it is. And so opening this up, making it available to you, fill it out after the call is over, and then we're going to get you scheduled and get things set up for you.
Okay. Quick recap on your takeaways, then we're going to do some Q&A. On the very page that most of you are on, you're going to scroll down and you're going to click blueprint. Then you're going to make your list, 10 to 20. You're going to start communicating with those lists. What are you going to say? This right here. You're going to get them over to your Let's Talk page, either getting them over or you doing it on the phone with them. And for those of you with some connections that want to do a one-on-one coaching call with your team leader, you're going to fill this out. Okay. That's your blueprint. That's your action plan, for the month. So Heather, you can take me back to full screen mode. I may need my laptop here in a few. And Kendra, let's take some questions here.
I love that everybody, wait, this one.
My microphone's attacking me. There we go.
Robert, I'm waiting. He has 16 local manufacturers. You know what to do. Yeah. I'm waiting. Okay, let's jump over here.
I'll pull one while you're
go ahead.
One.
Yeah.
So Michael wants to know with WOTC on the number of employees and related payroll costs, how are 1099 employees counted? So remember, Work Opportunity Tax Credit is one program. There are a large number of programs that fall within the TMS platform, including the Section 41 R&D credits. So, 1099 aren't the strongest for WOTC itself, but there are other programs that are going to count their W-2 and their 1099. Anything you want to add to that,
You
Kendra?
made it so positive. I was like, no, they don't count.
Well, that's not so.
It's not actually true. It depends on how they're classified. Yeah. But in my mind, I was like, no. He made it positive and more detailed. So that's awesome. Great question from Doug. He says, what if I have all their contact info, but we haven't met yet? I would ask you why. Give them a call.
Yeah.
Reach out to them. That's your next step.
I see one. Heather, could you turn the laptop back on? Could you role play a cold call in under 5 minutes?
Can do better than that.
Yeah. So on the very page that most of you are on, at the top, there's something called training. Don't do it now. And then there's video training. I'm going to open a new tab so I don't screw things up. And on here under live, boy, that's cumbersome to get to. So there is, I think I skipped it. Take me on your next appointment. Sorry.
I can't see that.
Seal the deal. Live role play for
Mm-hmm.
any client scenario. So right there, I will post this link, and 37 minutes in, I do a role play, and actually one better, Kendra and I actually do a good role play here where we actually share our screen, similar to what I just did, but you can actually see my screen as we go. So that's 37 minutes in that is there, and I will post that in the comments right now. I think that worked, Heather. So I just posted, I think, the link to everybody for that. 37 minutes into that YouTube video, we do a role play. So good question there.
Great question.
Sorry, I hid at this. Go ahead.
When I enter someone into TMS and book a call, do I still need to create a client card? When you take them through the survey, which is a part of booking the call, that creates a client card for them. So you don't have to do both. Otherwise, you'll have a duplicate. And I hate duplicates in the system. So once you go through and you've booked a call, just go over and look. You should already see the client card created for you with all of the notes and everything associated. Try not to create duplicates if possible. It just makes it a whole lot easier for you guys to do follow-up and stuff like that.
Absolutely. Jim said, I use a phone as a tablet better. It depends on the environment. I would say these days I'm getting much more phone centric. It depends on your interaction. So if you kind of bump into someone, then I'm, at that point just using my phone because it's very casual. If I'm having an intentional, pre-planned, premeditated meeting, not premeditated murder, premeditated meeting, then this is where I am a huge disproponent of the laptop. Here's why. If you sit down, this becomes a barrier between you and your contact.
It's physical, guys.
It's also, it's a lot. I don't like it. So I do like the tablet under the armpit type thing. It keeps my hands free. It keeps it more casual. I will say, though, that also lends to my personal style.
Yeah, I was going to say the same thing. It has a lot to do with your personality. If a laptop fits your personality, it's extension of who you are, and that's kind of how they know you, then work with it.
And
be yourself and be genuine. I think that's one of the
If you're going in and doing some big review with them because you're their work comp auditor, that's how they know you.
You should have a computer.
Yeah, but I'm going to stand up for a minute. I don't know if this will translate, but for me... No, it's too. Yeah, I'll have to walk back. This is what I prefer. I'm very casual. And so I walk in, it's iPad under the armpit. And as I meet someone, it really keeps it. And the other thing I like is I do a lot of more coffee style meetings. And so this can just kind of hide out under the arm. It's not in the way. Because a lot of times those coffee shops now, it's like you're
on a teeny tiny spot.
Table. And so to answer your question, Jim, it all depends on the style, of what you're doing. So.
All right, I'm going to steal. If R&D is payroll driven, what drives WOTC? Number of employees or turnover? I think it's Reed is his name. Reed, what drives WOTC is number of qualified applicants. So you survey someone before they actually start and you submit that survey upon them starting. And if it comes back approved, then they've qualified. So it has to be someone that they've hired. And then it bases off who hires.
And where our system is different, and you should watch the WOTC training if you want to know more about this, is that we predict with a high level of accuracy whether or not a candidate is likely to qualify. This is what makes our system different. So if someone has one job opening, they're going to seriously candidate about 10 people from what we find on average. And so what we say is, hey, these 3 people have high likelihood of qualifying. So if you hired, person A over person B, then, that could be worth $2,400 to you or $9,600 or whatever the case is. So we empower the hiring manager, the business owner to make a decision based on that. Maybe they got 2 candidates that are pretty close and they're trying to decide, well, Kendra, an extra $9,600.
It does have an impact, especially when you're hiring and the only difference between those 2 candidates, they've gone through the hiring process and it's pretty much the same. And this person comes with $9,600 or $2,400 and this one doesn't. It does make a difference. So it's great for them to be able to have that information ahead of time.
I want to take one while you're looking for the next one. Are you still doing ERC? I've asked people asking about it. I get people ask about ERC all the time. And this is why Kendra occasionally will get, some advisors either on a call or that have emailed into support and it's been escalated to her of saying, hey, our site still has ERC all over it. That's because it's still a big ranking with Google. Like even people that have already taken ERC are out there searching for what else is available besides ERC. That's why one of our slogans on our page is ERC was just the beginning.
Come on, guys. I know what I'm doing.
Yeah. So that was really 2-pronged. One is, are we still doing ERC? We're not actively taking new ERC clients and won't unless or until they start speeding up their process on payment. Now, we have had a flood of people get ERC checks since Mr. Trump took office. It hasn't made the news at all. but clients are just randomly getting checks that have been on
I think he
hold.
quietly told them to start doing their job, and so they're suddenly
Yeah.
getting processed.
Either that or IRS agents are like, I don't want to be one of the people get fired. Maybe I should process this stack. We don't really know what's going on other than clients are getting checks. But no, we're not actively signing up new clients.
This one kind of
time.
piggybacks off of that. It's from Henry. How has the current government reduction, quote, efforts impacted our programs, if there's any impact? That's a great question, especially where we're at time-wise. And I want to say, like, most of his efforts are on cutting ridiculous spending and things of that nature. We've yet to see any of our incentives or credits affected. I personally am going to say I doubt it.
Well, I will add one thing we have seen, though. The IRS agents are super nice and pleasant all of a sudden.
Very nice and pleasant.
I don't know. We were laughing about it.
They're
I'm like,
so helpful all of a sudden.
We were like, I don't know if they're going to be bitter about what's going on. So they're going to be like, sorry, cutbacks, we can't help. But it's just the opposite. Everyone at the IRS is like super friendly right now.
And
I don't know if they're scared to lose their job or what's going, but that's been my experience last
And there's
month.
something interesting that I've noticed is it's the opportunity for them to pivot into new incentives.
Yeah.
Like, for example, growth areas like AI, defense, infrastructure, and advanced manufacturing. So I would keep our eye out for that. I
wouldn't be a surprise. I want to dive into what you just said. If maybe what they do is they say, every year there's new qualifications that qualify for the R&D tax credit. I wouldn't be surprised if AI technologies becomes a bigger part of that. And that's
Definitely.
great because, guys, this is going to open up the R&D tax credit for like every business in America.
It's exciting.
Because they're all doing, not everyone, but they're largely doing things with AI. Even if they don't have a tech department, average employees are now doing more technical behavior. So to answer that question, if anything, I would expect more tax credits, more tax incentives, or the broadening of the existing ones that we offer to really kind of start to be the case.
I have two back-to-back TMS/WOTC questions. Elizabeth asks, how long does it take for you to find out if they would get a WOTC credit? How much does it add to the hiring process? And I'm going to share the other question first before we continue. Patrick says, is this correct? An important value provided by GMG in regards to WOTC is the fact that many of the steps required in applying for the credit are automated. This can be the difference in receiving the credit or submitting a credit request correctly and or on time. Absolutely correct, Patrick. And it kind of answers Elizabeth's question. Our system within TMS automates the WOTC process down to a T for an individual employer to do it. I have this drawing that shows the ridiculous hoops they have to jump through on when they have to have them fill out the paperwork and when it has to be sent in and how it can get there in time and all. And we've automated it all within a system that can also be used as an HRIS system. So it simplifies the system completely for them if they choose to use the tax management system.
We've been automating using algorithms and AI long before this was the catchphrase of the week. And we launched our platform in 2017, and our cost seg platform came out shortly afterwards in terms of its automation. And so we've been using algorithm type approaches or AI type approaches for years to go out there and predict with a high degree of accuracy whether or not someone qualifies. And that's how we market it to clients is, hey, you're out there candidating people, or you're out there buying buildings or whatever the case is. With a high degree of accuracy, we can tell you instantly what you'd qualify for Joe Smith or what you'd qualify if you bought this building. How can we do that? We've got something the other companies don't, and that's 20 plus years and 37 billion in tax incentives to rely into. So we know that a person who's being hired in upstate New York who does this type of work, who answers the questions in this type of way, our system, because of processing so many over the years, we know what's going to qualify and what doesn't, bottom line. And so that's really the nature. Kendra, I don't know if I answered that in its full. I think you answered half it and I answered half it. So we're good.
We had a question on nonprofits for cost seg. Louis, it really depends on how they're structured.
Yeah.
Nonprofits tend to not pay federal income taxes. So therefore a federal income tax reduction wouldn't be.
But their buildings are very often owned by a pro-profit entity.
Yeah.
Let's take
so that's what you need to
schools.
discover.
We see this all the time in the school arena where the Maybe the charter school itself is nonprofit, but the
This
building
is owned by another entity that maybe is one of the partners of the school that is pro-profit.
Yeah, or a lot of times it's
So-
a community member that's like, I'm really excited about, this type of schooling program and I like what you're doing. So, I'll buy the building. You guys pay me minimal rent the first 5 years, that kind of thing. But either way, the building is often owned in a pro-profit, entity. And in which
The
case we
structure
can
is
look at
better.
that. Yeah.
Malloy has a great question. I'll answer it and then you can add to it. Prospect concerns. And I want to actually add before I continue, this tends to not be a concern, Malloy. I think that we create this concern in our head. Upon filing, how confident are we that the business will not be audited? I have never seen one of our clients audited that presented correct information. And when you talk to an IRS agent, like we have over the years, it's not a flag.
No.
There's flags that people have within business. And if they get audited, they get audited. The risk of getting audited is not higher if you claim tax credits that have been on the books for years. And
Yeah.
I don't understand why we make this a big deal. I've talked to thousands of clients and I've never once had one say, I'm worried about being audited.
Yeah, they don't.
It's something we create and
Yeah.
we make a big deal, and it's really not a big deal.
Yeah, even when an audit takes place, what we tend to find because the thing with an audit is the agent auditing doesn't know why it was audited. So a lot of times we'll say, hey, was it our cost seg or was it their gas receipts that
They just have
turned
to
in?
check off their boxes.
They say,
don't.
we don't know, we don't anything. And then here's the difference. For their gas receipts, they usually have an Excel sheet or nothing. For our cost seg, we have a 170-page report. So when we get pulled into an audit, it's often 10, 15 minutes of phone call that, someone on our end
The
will...
only time I've ever seen one was when the auditor did not know what cost segregation was.
Yeah.
Which is scary. But
Yeah,
once we explained what it was,
we had to go
showed
through
him the
and explain.
documentation, he was like, oh yeah, that's here on my list. Good to go. Done.
And that's because obviously the audit wasn't about us.
No,
it
it
about
wasn't.
something else in their business because they didn't assign someone that had ever heard of cost segregation before. But so, yeah, not really an issue. Kendra, I think we have time for maybe one or two more.
Can I answer one? There's
Yeah.
several in here. There's several questions about CPAs not wanting their clients to move forward. What if a client says their CPA is good, blah, blah, blah. There's lots of these. It's the same thing. What do you do if you feel like the client's CPA is a roadblock? I always ask them, well, what have the incentives been that your CPA has gotten you before? Because we partner with a CPA. We don't replace them. We partner with them. If they're like, well, I don't have, because that's what they're going to say is
Yeah.
I actually haven't seen. Ryan always says, well, how much was your R&D check if it's a manufacturer or something like that? There's ways that you can approach it without offending their relationship with their CPA, but keep approaching it. Don't let it, they're meaning for that to be a shutdown to the conversation.
Yeah.
If you can bring a meaningful question back and make them think.
I think at the end of the day, what you're really addressing is saying that, if they say, well, I think my CPA, well, we actually work hand in hand with CPAs. CPAs usually do tax filings. They do tax preparation. What we do is specialized tax incentives. What we're going to do is we're going to generate a report. We're going to review it with your CPA. And actually your CPA is going to end up ultimately being the one who files this.
Mhm.
So
Great questions today. I really have to thank you. When you all give us questions that we're able to kind of banter and go back and forth on, I love it. It means that you're thinking and you're trying to figure things out to make sure that you're successful. And that's what we're here for. We really hope that you all take advantage after the call. Get over to your blueprint page by scrolling down on the page you're currently in and clicking on that banner and getting over there and getting that strategic call booked if you feel like you have those type of potential clients. If not, get out there and start getting those clients booked.
absolutely. We'll see you next month.
Thanks, everybody.